Good morning, neighbors. Oh, he is jealous for me. Love's like a hurricane. I am a tree bending beneath the weight of his wind and mercy. All of a sudden, I am unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory, and I realize just how beautiful you are and how great your affections are for me. And oh, how he loves us. How he loves us, how he loves us all. We are his portion and he is our prize, drawn to redemption by the grace in his eyes. If grace is an ocean, we're all sinking. So heaven meets earth like an unforeseen kiss, and my heart turns violently inside of my chest. I don't have time to maintain these regrets when I think about the way loves us. Oh, he loves us. Oh, he loves us. Oh, he loves. Oh, he loves us. Oh, he loves. How he loves us so. Oh, how he loves us. How he loves us all. We cannot ever allow ourselves to forget that, how much the Lord loves us. And then in John chapter 15, he's speaking, and this is Jesus' words. It says, "Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit, so shall ye be my disciples. As the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love. If ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love." We have to realize love costs something. You're laying yourself out, and it can be rejected. When you when I asked my wife to marry me, she could have said no. But he's saying, this love, you will always be accepted. I'm offering it to you, but this is, if you truly love me, you will keep my commandments just as I kept my Father's commandments. Just as he went to the cross and said, "Father, if it's possible, can this cup be passed from me?" And the Father said, "No." He said, "Then I will go because of my great love for the sinners, the lost, and my great love for the Father because I'm trusting in him because he's the one who's saying no." So we have to remember this, but I like this part. "Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit, so shall ye be my disciples." My Father will be glorified when you love one another and you do what I'm asking you to do. And he's asking you to continue in my love. Don't let this go out. These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Ye are my friends if ye do whatsoever I command you. You know, and when I think greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends, it's exactly what Jesus Christ did, and he's asking us to do the same. Can you make yourself vulnerable for the lost and for your brothers and sisters, for all these? And when I read that, herein is my Father glorified, it reminds me, and I may have shared this before, but Charles Spurgeon told a story. He said, he's preaching to thousands upon thousands of people. And so he said, I'm not able to go to every funeral, every wedding. I would never be able to preach. I would consistently be at weddings and funerals when you're as world famous as he was. But he said there was a sister who passed away, and he said she was not what you would consider much in this world. I knew her mostly by her reputation, by her testimony. And when I went to her funeral, of course, this is, I believe, in London, he said it was just one of those cold, wet days. The streets, they're not paved. This is in the 1800s, so he said they're just mud, and you're having mud up to past your ankles. He said, and it's cold. It's this just solid driving rain, just one of those miserable rains. And he said, I'm standing there, and he said, you would think there's this person just passed through life, and she hasn't really done anything. There's only him and a couple others at the funeral. You're standing at the grave, standing there with your umbrellas in black and your top hat, and he said, as it's about to begin, he thought, it's a sad day. It's a sad, weather-wise and, of course, emotional-wise. But he said, then suddenly they came. It was the poor. They were not able to afford carriages or horses or anything. But he said they're walking through the streets of mud, coming from every direction. And he said poor people with these little wildflowers, maybe they plucked along the way, or whatever the money they could scrape together. Men, their hair combed, and he said they're men with their hands dirty from labor. Women, who have patched their faded dresses, have patched their children's clothes, their kids' hair is nicely done. And he said they came from every direction, like hundreds of people. And Charles Spurgeon said, when I saw this, he said they scraped. He said, I started thinking they scraped together whatever they could to make it here. They're forsaking their jobs, this money they desperately need to come. And, but he said, I began to think in my mind, maybe that sister, when she was ill, maybe when she was had just had a baby, maybe this poor little sister lying in this casket. He said, maybe she brought them soup. Maybe some of those patches on the children's clothes are things that she'd sewed together. Maybe she had cut these men's hair one time to help them, and all these things that she had done. And he said, if it wasn't the fact that it was a funeral, I would have jumped on the nearest tombstone and screamed out to the world, herein is love. This is the love of God. That they would say, well, we're not missing this funeral. We're going to go honor this woman who's done so much for us. And he said, my goodness, what great treasures awaited this woman in glory, that she had done this for them, and this great love that they were reciprocating, this is, and he said, herein is love. This is the love of Jesus. If you can see this, you can see Jesus. So God help us to be like this. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.